afternoon. I'm Andy Van Clunen, CEO of National Skills Coalition. Welcome to our latest Fireside Chat.
It's such a huge opportunity. I mean, first of all, let me just say thank you for your really tireless advocacy over the years for a more inclusive and equitable economy. I just think these three laws give us our best shot at building up that inclusive, equitable economy from the bottom up and the middle out, as the president likes to say. And that's because the investments in these laws are going to get us to make things in America again. And you know, when we gave up this just drove me crazy as the former governor of Michigan, when we gave up our manufacturing backbone years ago, or at least good chunks of it, to chase the promise of cheap labor. The result ended up being a hollowed out middle class. And with the Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure Law and the CHIPS Act, we're putting the full force of the federal government into rebuilding that backbone. And we're doing it by building up America's competitiveness in the industries that are going to drive the future and command the economy, even globally. Clean energy technologies and the guts, the components that power those technologies, like critical materials and semiconductors. You know, that, as Wayne Gretzky would say, that's how you skate to where the puck is going rather than to where the puck is.
That's a really important question, Andy. And as you said, it was on day one that President Biden signed an executive order that directed the whole of the federal government to do all that it can to advance equity and racial justice. And I'm proud that I've been given the responsibility of quarterbacking that effort. As we try to continue to make progress tackling the pandemic and getting our economy back on track, as you know well, we truly cannot afford to return to the way things were before. The president believes deeply that we have to seize this moment to reimagine and rebuild a new economy that serves everybody, leaves nobody out and no one behind. The bipartisan infrastructure law, which we've already touched on, is a great example of how we're doing that. If we implement the bipartisan infrastructure law to its full potential, we can make great progress towards narrowing the racial and gender wealth gaps, creating good jobs, addressing historic forms of discrimination and structural barriers that have held back women and people of color and people with disabilities, whether in the workplace or by advancing climate justice or by building rural and tribal prosperity, which all taken together would mean a more resilient and equitable future for millions and millions of Americans.
The Good Jobs Challenge, it's a $500 million. It's competition. We want cities, states to build coalitions to come forward to compete for the money. And it's designed to do what we did in Rhode Island, which is bring all the actors to the table to support local talent pipelines. So that means, and it's very bottom-up driven, community organizers, nonprofit training partners, community colleges, unions, partnering with employers. And the employers need to make commitments to hire, and they need to be part of designing the curriculum for the job training. We're also very much encouraging of earn while you learn type models. Mm-hmm. In Rhode Island, we learned, you asked about my experience, we learned this was one of the most impactful things we could do to get particularly mid-career folks back to work. And particularly if you want women, people of color, low-wage folks, single parents. If you're a, 45-year-old woman with 2 kids working a minimum wage job, you cannot give up your job to go back to college. Can't do it. So you need an apprenticeship or earn while you learn type of a thing where the employer pays you to work and trains you.
you get a little humility when you come to Washington if you didn't have it before you got here. And you have to understand that not one size does not fit all.
Right.
For example, what might be, happening in North Dakota is not necessarily happening on the streets of New Orleans. So you really have to rely on the governor and the mayors to use their convening power to bring together their business leaders, their faith-based leaders who may be different than someplace else. And they might be building a different thing there. So it's really important for us to engage them, not tell them what to do, but use the convening power of the White House like we did, and you came to it. And you saw some of the business leaders there who said, oh, wow, I don't have to wait for I can go do this now. And so we're hoping, again, that they're starting this very, very early, because we're certainly not dictating it. We're just lifting up to people that we got a huge challenge and that the solution is in the communities in America, and it is a fantastic opportunity to put people to work. Look, at a time when the unemployment rates are low, it's going to be an issue. And so let's not wait, to figure out, a year from now. Let's get ready and let's make sure we connect people, and we're very intentional about it. And I'll just finally say this. The good book says, seek and you shall find. If you go look for folks who are there, you'll find them. If you don't go look for them, don't know how to look for you, you can't ever find them. So that's why we say you have to be intentional about this. And on top of that, it is this president's view that diversity is this nation's greatest strength. The workforce is changing. People of color have to be let in. Women have to be let in. They have to have the tools necessary to get in. They have to have the training. And when they do that and they build generational wealth, they're going to really push this country, as far ahead and as fast as the country, hasn't seen in quite a long time.
I was just on a call before this with a group of local elected officials, and there was 300 or 400 people on the call, and I was talking to them. But if I had a chance to talk to them one-on-one, they would all tell me the need for workforce development, job training, apprenticeship program, because most communities in our country are dealing with the issues of inequity. They're dealing with people that are underemployed. We're coming out of a pandemic. So I do think that the urgency is now. And I think more people realize it than we realize. So I don't think we have to explain to anyone why to do it. I think it's just a matter of making sure we make these investments, because you make these investments in people, in job training, who's going to benefit? Not only them and their family, but the companies, the economy, our country.